All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is July 25th, 2021, and I'm starting off saying Ahaya by Yeshim, Yeshua, HaMashiach, Baruch Ato Adonai, for now and forever. And if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you were blessed to see yet another day, and all praises due to Ahaya, for now and forever. All right, again, I'm not sure, since I kind of, well, let me, before I even start, because today's lesson is going to be like, I mean, it's going to really rock some heads or whatever, because it kind of rocked mine. I mean, but this is how the Most High deals with me. This is how He reveals things to me when I least expect it, and I'm going to get into that. But I need to say real quick, like when I'm away for a little while, whatever the case may be, handling business, doing what I need to do, to take care of myself and my family. I come back to, to hear, to see and read comments about how you guys miss me and this and that, but yet when I post the video, you guys are never really even around. You barely even show up. So I mean, how much do you really miss me? I mean, you're just saying that because you're used to it. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I can't tell you miss me by the lack of engagement with my videos and the lack of views. I can't tell that you miss me. I mean, regardless of what, rather you just say, hey, I peeped the presentation, whatever the case may be, appreciate you, you putting it out there or something like that. I don't even see half of you a lot of the time, but you say you miss me. I don't really get that. I don't understand where you're coming from. I mean, and you shouldn't need a notification bell to come. You know what, where my platform is. You know where the Hebrew Israelite Online Institute is located. So you can come every day if you want to see if I upload a video. You don't have to be sheep led by the notification bell to know that I uploaded a new video. I'm just saying that's just how I see it. Yes, it's convenient with the notification bell, but I mean, you guys know that you don't need that, or you shouldn't need that to check in on Dr. Edith to see if if I uploaded something new, whatever the case may be. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of say that real quick, man. It's kind of weird, man. You guys talking about y'all missed me, but yeah, I put out a video and I don't see anyone. It's like crickets. So that's that, man. But anyway, this lesson is based on something that many of you know or know about, even myself, but I didn't know it like how I'm about to break it down for you all. And what inspired this lesson? I was surfing. I had this Netflix series called High on the Hog: How African American Cuisine Transformed America. And of course, when I saw that, it grabbed my attention initially, so I saved it. But I had it in there for a little bit before I, decided to watch it. Started watching it last night, and man, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to unpack. Starting with that Netflix series, High on the Hog. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that we as Negroes brought from cultures over in Africa, whatever the case may be, as far as the food that we eat. But in all reality, in all honesty, a lot of that stuff, man, is not stuff from our culture. When Mosai said He was going to scatter us among the heathen, that includes everyone and the Africans as well. We adopted African cultures, just not our own. That's the harsh reality. We that pork, that a lot of that so-called African American cuisine. I mean, yeah, we was raised on it. I know I was, majority of us. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It was good to us. It tasted well. This and that. That's all we knew. But that's not food from our culture. That's really, a lot of that food is food from the heathen culture, not the Israelite children of Israel culture. And that's just the harsh reality. So I was torn from that perspective watching this High on the Hog, right? Because, obviously we have, our people has totally adopted what they, the African culture. They believe that to be our culture. They really do. So it's like, I'm watching this, it's kind of shaking my head. And it's like, like I said, I'm kind of torn because I know the truth and I know where majority of that stuff that, comes from. And I know the fact that, when the Most High said He was going to scatter us among the heathen, basically we took up their cultures. Right. And it's no different with the Shemites and the Hamites when we mixed with them. No difference. We took up their culture, but as I'm watching this show, and a lot of truth was told, this one African brother from Benin, he said that Africans took part in slavery. Of course, we already knew that, but that was some truth right there. I wasn't expecting to hear that. He said, the Africans took part in slavery. They did, and we know that for a fact. So, you know, when, and it's dropped in my spirit, right? And he was talking about how, about the Africans or the Hamites that were basically taken into slavery or enslaved, and it got me to think, and it dropped in my spirit. See, when, and I tried to get all of you to know this, right? But before I even get into that, I wanted to give you all a kind of pretext to the context of what this lesson is about. This lesson isn't about what the children of Israel went through, per se, all of our captivities. We kind of already knew that. We knew that we were cursed to go back into slavery by the Most High, right? But this curse basically is dealing with the curse of Noah, or when he cursed Canaan, right? So that's the backdrop for this lesson. The curse of Noah, or commonly referred to as the curse of Ham, right? Yeah, the curse of Ham did not include and does not include Negroes. We had our own curses to worry about. The curse of Ham is literally, and actually dropped in my spirit, was the Hamitic Africans, and we have history to prove that. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, it seems like we always kind of start off a lot of my presentations here, right? Well, it's fitting, because the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary sets out who Ham became the progenitor of, right? So again, Ham became the progenitor of the dark races of Africa, and it listed the dark races he became the progenitor of. It said the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites, not the Negroes. But this lesson is not about the Negroes, though. Again, we already know about all of our captivities, with Babylon and the Greek captivities, Romans, etc., etc. We know all about our captivities, right? We get that. This lesson is about the Canaanites. See, I tried to tell you all for the longest time, and some people try to deny it or say it's not so, whatever the case may be. But I told you all, the Canaanites that Ham became the progenitor of are the Hamitic Africans. I've said that ad nauseum. Some people believe it, some people won't. But maybe after this lesson, it'll drop in your spirit, right? Canaan, Hamitic Africans dwelled in the land known as Israel. They're the ones, they were called then Canaanites. The Canaanites, once again, are your Hamitic Africans, my people, right? So when I said that that whole curse of Ham stuff, that's from the Babylonian Talmud, right? That's satanic Babylonian. That curse of Ham stuff, it was meant to kind of lump Negroes in there, saying that Negroes were cursed. And again, like I said in the intro, we had our own curses to worry about, right? So why is this significant? Why am I starting out here telling you all about Canaan again? Who the Canaanites actually were? Because remember, Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan." One more time. Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan." So Noah cursed the Hamitic Africans. That's why they went through what they went through, because they were cursed as well. He said, "Cursed be Canaan." Genesis 9:25. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." And see, my people, I never thought to really put that together. I really never thought about the curse of Canaan. My focus was always on dispelling the fact of the curse of Ham not being us, right? That was always my focus. And it never dawned on me, because I knew all the time the Most High revealed to me who Canaan is and who Canaan was. It's the Hamitic Africans. Noah cursed them. That's why they went through the colonization of Africa. That's why they went through the atrocity of that German Leopold with the German Holocaust, basically. What those Africans went through under Leopold, who died, and I mean he raped Africa of over $1 billion in wealth. Man, he didn't get to enjoy any of it. But anyway, they weren't for the most part involved with the transatlantic slave trade, but the Hamitic Africans went through it themselves. In all reality, a lot of Hamitic Africans, they went through it, my people. And I'm serious. I've never thought of it like that. I never did. I mean, to say that I didn't have knowledge of the fact that, a lot of African countries or whatever, went through, certain colonizations. Yeah, I knew it, but I just didn't really put it together of why they went through what they went through, because they went through a curse as well. Noah cursed them. There's a curse be Canaan. The Canaanites are the Hamitic Africans of then and today. So what they went through, that whole all that atrocities of the colonization. Right now, there's 29 countries in Africa that speak French. When I saw them speaking, black people, Africans speaking French on that High on the Hog series, I said, that is just shameful, man. That is just freaking shameful that Africans are speaking freaking French. Are you freaking kidding me, man? Like, seriously? And that's due to the colonization. So it dropped in my spirit. They are the results of the curse of Noah, when he said, "Cursed be Canaan." Because we focus so much on the transatlantic slave trade, right? And what our people went through. We went through our atrocities. Don't get it twisted. Slavery here in North America, yokes of iron on the neck and all that. But we didn't know what the Hamitic Africans were going to go through. Maybe because they weren't of the chosen seed, and so their plight was not listed in Torah or the Tanakh. But they went through their own hell. And I can't even post those images, because a lot of the images, you guys can Google it. Google German Leopold, the genocide of the Nambia African tribes. I mean, they were invaded. We're going to get into that in the next segment. But this is the backdrop for what's to come in this lesson. Okay, the Hamitic Africans and what they went through are the result of the curse of Noah when he cursed Canaan. This should prove to you all, finally, what I've been telling you all along, that Canaan is the Hamitic Africans. That's why they went through all of the atrocities and the slavery and stuff that they went through. On to the next segment. So again, we focus so much on our colonization, us being colonized, or we weren't even colonized. I take that back. We were under the thumb, if you will, of the colonizers, right? But we weren't. We couldn't have been colonized because we weren't from Africa. We were taken against our will to America, not Africa. Our people were taken against their will to America, but I can't call it being colonized, because America, I don't want to keep saying Africa. America was not our colony. However, the people that enslaved us were our ancestors, were colonizers, right? So here, by 1900, a significant part of Africa had been colonized by mainly 7 European powers. That'd be Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And I tell you what they suffered under with France. They pretty much went to war with France, and they kind of got the worst end of the deal out of that. But they battled. I'm gonna get into that a little bit here in a little bit. But Germany, what they suffered, what the Hamitic Africans suffered under Leopold, Germany, man, from a human standpoint, man. I mean man, I can't even. I mean, man, I tell you, we went through it. And this is not to downplay what our ancestors went through under the auspices of slavery and the inhumane treatment we received, being lynched and beat and all this kind of stuff. And again, I can't post a lot of the images because I don't want to get my video flagged, or I don't want to get whatever. So you guys can Google it. You can Google the images of the Africans, the colonization, the Holocaust, and it's never talked about. The Holocaust of the Nambian Africans is never talked about. They only focus on the Holocaust of one particular group, and it's not the Nambians, it's not the Africans, right? And I'll just say that, put that out there. But yeah, we just don't focus on what a lot of the Hamitic Africans went through. They went through hell. They went through their own hell. I mean, I guess I didn't really. I mean, I knew what they went through, but I didn't look at it the same. I just didn't. I didn't understand. I didn't even think to figure out, well, why were they going through what they were going through? Because they might not have been enslaved here in America, but a lot of them were enslaved. They were enslaved. They were colonized. I mean, they were colonized. I mean, these Europeans came up in there, man, and tried to overpower them with their weapons and this and that, and they sold, and a lot of other Africans sold them out, this and that. Yeah, so I just never thought of it like this. but most definitely, a lot of the Hamitic Africans went through a lot of what we went through right here in America, but we just don't really talk about that. We really don't give that any real focus. But in all reality and in all fairness, we probably need to. We definitely need to. And again, I'll just give a summation of and I'll post some more pictures as the presentation goes on. But again, I don't want to post those images because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get the video flagged or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of images of Africans being malnourished, like the Holocaust in Germany that the Jews went through. There's a lot of pictures of Africans being in chains, being enslaved, being beaten, just treated like how we were treated here in America. And I don't know, it's just weird because I never thought of it like that, right? Of what a lot of the Hamitic Africans went through. Cursed be Canaan. They were cursed as well. Noah cursed them. That's why they went through what they went through. Noah cursed them. Cursed be Canaan. But I'm sorry. It says, but scholars commonly say the Armenian genocide of 1914 to 1915 perpetrated by the Turks was the first genocide of the 20th century, but that's wrong. History records the first deliberate effort to systematically exterminate an entire group was by the Germans, Leopold, in southwest Africa with the Nambia tribe, 1904 through 1908. But yeah, the Curse of Canaan is why a lot of Africans speak French to this day. I mean, that is, I can't even, for the first time, me actually seeing that series with the High on the Hog and listening to these brothers and sisters from Africa speaking French, it kind of angered me. And I'm thinking, well, should I be angered? Should I be angry? I mean, but it did. It angered me, man. I mean, the nerve of the colonizers to come into a country, to a continent that didn't invite them. People were already there, living their lives, doing their thing, and they come messing with them, come trying to subjugate them, come trying to enslave them, come trying to trick them, all these different things, right? And it angered me inside. It really did. And who knows what other languages they speak, European languages they speak in Africa. I know a lot of them speak French. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them over there speaking German somewhere. You just don't know. I mean, because Africa was seriously colonized by the Europeans. On to the next segment. So the Curse of Canaan, sometimes even incorrectly referred to as the Curse of Ham, they tried for years to tell our people, or the Negroes or the Shemites, that our enslavement was the results of the Curse of Ham, right? And again, they got that from the Babylonian Talmud. That's where that originated from. However, in retrospect, it was kind of true. It just didn't. It was true. It was the Curse of Canaan as to why the Hamitic Africans were enslaved and went through what they went through. But it had nothing to do with us. So that old adage is partially actually correct. It just didn't apply to us, and they tried to lump us in with that whole Curse of Ham thing. Like I said, we had our own curses to worry about with the Most High God of Israel. So that Curse of Canaan thing, yes, the Hamitic Africans that were enslaved and the atrocities and the genocide that they went through at the hands of Europeans in Africa. Wow, talking about colonizers. Yeah, it was a result of the Curse of Canaan, not the Curse of Ham, because Noah cursed Canaan. So let's get into the whole meat of the Curse of Canaan, which ended up being the colonization, essentially, of Africa, right? And all these groups moving in and occupying them without, they weren't invited, So I said between the 1870s and 1900, Africa faced European imperialist aggression, diplomatic pressures, military invasions, and eventual conquests and colonizations. At the same time, African societies put up various forms of resistance against the attempt to colonize their countries and impose foreign domination. So there was definitely resistance, and I salute that. By the early 20th century, however, much of Africa, except Ethiopia and Liberia, had been colonized by European powers. I mean, are you freaking serious? Like, yeah, wow. The European imperialists pushed into Africa was motivated by a couple of different factors: economy, political, and social. Developed in the 19th century, following the collapse of the profitability, of the slave trade, its abolition and suppression, as well as the expansion of the European capitalist industrial revolution. The imperatives of capitalist industrialization, including the demand for assured sources of raw materials, the search for guaranteed markets and profitable investment outlets, spurred the European scramble and the partition and eventual conquest of Africa. Thus, the primary motivation for European intrusion was economic, i.e., money, riches. And Africa was known to have plenty of it, gold, I mean, you name it. And not lost on me is I'm pretty sure they felt that the Africans were inferior to them. So they never really went there with intent to be partners with them or to be fair with them. They really felt in their mind and heart of hearts that they were a bit bigger, better, and more superior, far superior to the Africans, and they could just go in there and take what they want, no matter what they told the Hamitic Africans that met them there. So then it became this big old push called this so-called scramble for Africa. All right. But other factors played an important role in the process. The political impetus derived from the impact of inter-European power struggles and competition for preeminence. Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, and Spain were competing for power within European power politics. One way to demonstrate national preeminence was through the acquisition of territories around the world, including Africa. The social factor was the third major element. As a result of industrialization, major social problems grew in Europe: unemployment, poverty, homelessness, social displacement from rural areas, and so on. The social problems developed partly because not all people could be absorbed by the new capitalist industries. One way to resolve this problem was to acquire colonies and export this surplus population. This led to the establishment of settler colonies in Algeria, Tunisia, South Africa, Namibia, Angola, Mozambique, and Central African areas like Zimbabwe and Zambia. Eventually, the overriding economic factors led to the colonization of other parts of Africa. I mean, the freaking nerve, man. The scramble was so intense that there were fears that it could lead to inter-imperialist conflicts and even wars. To prevent this, the German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck convened a diplomatic summit of European powers in the late 19th century. This was the famous Berlin West African Conference, more generally known as the Berlin Conference, held from November 1884 to February 1885. The conference produced a treaty known as the Berlin Act, with provisions to guide the conduct of the European inter-imperialist competition in Africa. Some of its major articles were as follows. 1. The principle of notification, notifying other powers of a territorial annexation. 2. The principle of effective occupation to validate the annexations. 3. Freedom of trade in the Congo Basin, or Bison. 4. Freedom of navigation on the Niger and Congo rivers. 5. Freedom of trade to all nations. And 6. Suppression of the slave trade by land and sea. Now, the African resistance. It was really talked about with our ancestors in the transatlantic slave trade, is there were pockets of resistance, but you don't get the stories on those. There are some of our people that literally hurled themselves overboard. They'd rather be dead than to be a slave. That was an act of resisting. There were our ancestors who refused to eat, and that documentary on Netflix kind of touched on that on the what I was telling you about earlier. It was very subtle, but it was the power of no, the power of I will not eat your food, the power of I will not be subjected or subjugated like you have me. So yeah, there were definitely pockets of resistance, and a lot of the Africans did resist as much as they could. Again, salute to them for that. I have a different kind of look and an idea about this. I knew about the colonization of Africa. I just didn't know about it I didn't see it like this, and I definitely didn't equated to the Curse of Canaan, and them dealing with their own curses as well. I just didn't, not until it dropped in my spirit. The European imperialist designs and pressures of the late 19th century provoked African political and diplomatic responses and eventually military resistance. During and after the Berlin Conference, various European countries sent out agents to sign so-called treaties of protection with the leaders of African societies, states, kingdoms, decentralized societies, and empires. The differential interpretation of these treaties by the contending forces often led to conflict between both parties and eventually to military encounters. For Europeans, these treaties meant that Africans had signed away their sovereignties to European powers, but for Africans, the treaties were merely diplomatic and commercial friendship treaties. See? After discovering that they had in effect been defrauded, and that the European powers now wanted to impose and exercise political authority in their lands, African rulers organized militarily to resist the seizure of their lands and the imposition of colonial domination. I mean, wow, man. Wow. African military resistance took two main forms: guerrilla warfare and direct military engagement. While these were used as needed by African forces, the dominant type depended on the political, social, and military organizations of the societies concerned. In general, small-scale societies, the decentralized societies, erroneously known as stateless societies, use guerrilla warfare because of their size and the absence of standing or professional armies. Instead, the professional soldiers, small groups, or organized fighters with a mastery of the terrain mounted resistance by using the classical guerrilla tactic of hit-and-run raids against stationary enemy forces. This was the approach used by the Igbo of southeastern Nigeria against the British. All right, now our Igbo brothers doing their thing. Even though the British imperialists swept through Igbo land in 3 years between 1900 and 1902, and despite the small scale of the societies, the Igbo put up protracted resistance. That's right, that's that fighting Israelite spirit. You better know it. Judah. The resistance was diffuse and piecemeal, and therefore it was difficult to conquer them completely and declare absolute victory. I know that's right. Israelites, baby, yeah. Long after the British formally colonized Igbo land, they had not fully mastered the territory. Direct military engagement was most commonly organized by the centralized state systems such as chiefdoms, city-states, kingdoms, and empires, which often had standing or professional armies and could therefore tackle the European forces with massed troops. This was the case with the resistance actions of the Ethiopians, the Zulu, Israelites, the Mandinka, Israelites leadership, and numerous other centralized states. I noticed that most of these tribes are heavily Israelite influenced. It confronted a determined and sagacious military leader of the Ethiopian Emperor Menelik II, which kind of made me think, with these Israelite influenced tribes, I wonder if that kind of fell into the curses of Israel as well, where it kind of crossed each other. The curse of Canaan and the curse of Israel kind of crossed each other. Something to think about. I literally just had that thought. As Italy intensified pressure in the 1890s to impose its rule over Ethiopia, the Ethiopians organized to resist. Salute to them. In the famous Battle of Adwa in 1896, 100,000 Ethiopian troops confronted the Italians and inflicted a decisive defeat. I know that's right. Salute, salute. Thereafter, Ethiopia was able to maintain its independence for much of the colonial period, except for a brief interlude of Italian oversight between 1936 and 1941. Another example of resistance was the one organized by Samari Touré of the emergent Mandinka Empire in West Africa. As this new empire spread and Touré attempted to forge a new political order, he ran up against the French imperialists who were also trying to extend their territories inland from their base in Dakar, Senegal. This brought the parties into conflict. Touré organized military and diplomatic resistance between 1882 and 1898. During this 16-year period, he used a variety of strategies, including guerrilla warfare, scorched earth programs, and direct military engagement. For this last tactic, he acquired arms, especially quick-firing rifles, from European merchant and traders in Sierra Leone and Senegal. He also established engineering workshops where weapons were repaired and parts were fabricated. With these resources and his well-trained forces and the motivation of national defense, he provided his protracted resistance to the French. Eventually, he was captured, though, and in 1898 exiled to Gabon, where he died in 1900. Let me wrap this up with the colonization, and I'm going to wrap it up with, let's see here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to wrap it up. What are we going to wrap it up with? Excuse me. By 1900, much of Africa had been colonized by 7 European powers. That would be Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. After the conquest of African decentralized and centralized states, the European powers set about establishing colonial state systems. The colonial state was the machinery of administrative domination established to facilitate effective control and exploitation of the colonized society, partly as a result of their origins in military conquest and partly because of the racist ideology of the imperialist enterprise. The colonial states were authoritarian, bureaucratic systems. Because they were imposed and maintained by force without the consent of the governed, the colonial states never had the effective legitimacy of normal government. Second, they were bureaucratic because they were administered by military officers, civil servants who were appointees of the colonial power. While they were all authoritarian, bureaucratic state systems, their forms of administration varied, partly due to the different national administrative traditions and specific imperialist ideologies of the colonizers, and partly because of the political conditions in the various territories that they conquered. So that essentially covers the colonization of Africa by those 7 European, so-called powers. Covers the curse of Canaan, and I just kind of posed the question. I'm not sure some of the curse of Israel is up in there too, because it seemed like a lot of those African-based tribes had a lot of Israelites mixed in with them, and they're known to be a lot of Israelites in the Mandinka tribe and the Zulus and things, and tribes of that nature were mixed in with them, right? So yeah, I mean, all this cursing going on, it's like, wow, man, listen. Like I said, we clearly had our own issues to worry about. I mean, it doesn't absolve the Africans who took part in the selling of our people to slavery, right? I mean, it's messed up. They went through a lot. They went through almost just as much as we did in terms of the treatment at the hands of the European powers. They were, I mean, the genocide of the Nambia and what Leopold did to them from Germany, man, was just. Inhumane is not even a big enough or good enough word. But yeah, hopefully this lesson, will cause you guys to research a little bit more on it. Like I said, I can't post a lot of the images, but if you Google a lot of the images of the African colonizations in Germany, Leopold's occupation of Zambia, and you'll see the images of they look like black Holocaust victims. I mean, they were malnourished. A lot of them were in chains. I mean, they were just subjugated, man. It was just so sad. I mean, it's just, I was like, wow. And I just never really thought of it like that. They went through what we went through right there in the homeland of Africa. Like, I mean, imagine that. Like the atrocities they experienced, like right there where they're from. They didn't leave. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't go bother nobody. People came bothering them. They invaded their land, invaded their country, and lied to them and signed fake treaties and made them think that they were friends. And they didn't respect them from out the gate. They didn't. They did not respect those Africans, none of them, out the gate. And that's why to this day you got Africans speaking freaking French. Like, get out of here, man. Like, that's just the audacity of that is just angering. But anyway, I gave you guys more than enough to go on. Hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. Maybe you want to do a little bit more research, dig a little bit deeper yourself. But that's what dropped in my spirit. A lot of the Hamitic Africans were cursed as well, but that was a curse. They were cursed by Noah. Noah cursed Canaan. Canaan were the Hamitic Africans. And don't forget, Nimrod was a jerk too. Nimrod was probably a shepherd for the devil, and he was a Hamitic African. They're from that line of Nimrod. Nimrod was from the line of Canaan or whatever. So it all probably just ties in, whatever. So yeah, that was what I got from it. So you guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. And until next time, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off, saying Ahaya Bayashim, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai, Shalom, Elect.